I've been given 30 minutes, so immediately I'd like to call upon Mrs. Sheila Shri Prakash on stage. Madam Shri Prakash is a Chennai-based architect with experience in architecture, planning, landscape, and interior design. And she attended the executive education program at Harvard University Graduate School of Design in 2000. Ma'am, welcome. Please join us. Now I welcome Mr. N. Nirmal as Jhon Britto. Is he there? Yeah, hi. He is the Principal Architect, Urban Design Collaborative, UDC, based in Chennai and Coimbatore. Armed with a master's degree in Housing and Urbanism from Architectural Association of School of Architecture, London, he spearheads UDC's contextual design solutions. Welcome, Nirmal. We have Razak. She is having a flight at 9:45. She already given me ultimatum that she should finish in 25 minutes. With over 18 years in design industry as an architect and co-lead Chancellor Bangalore, excelling in corporate campuses, workplaces, and retail projects. A strategic leader, she specializes in the technology and finance sector, fostering client relationships and ensuring design aligned with business goals. Welcome, Razak. We have Mr. Amardeep Dugar. Yeah, Mr. Amardeep Dugar, please come on the dais. A seasoned architect and an advocate for comprehensive lighting solutions. Okay, so we have, other than Jaguar, we have an expert also, great. He's the founding principal of lighting research and design. He actively contributes through workplace, workshops, high-profile projects, and leadership roles in IS. So we have a seating arrangement, so we have to follow the... Great. No, sir, your face is so familiar, so you don't need to put a name tag. And a well-known figure already in the hall, Mr. Mohit Hajela, please join us. He's a group head, business development at Jaguar and Company Private Limited. He brings over 30 plus years of expertise in marketing and sales. I think I don't need to tell anything about you. You're such an expert. You are a born leader, a brand strategist, and excellent in leading P&L responsibility for luxury and premium consumer goods. Welcome, Mohit ji. So, now the topic is urban development in context to growing cityscape. I'm sure most of the architects, young architects to senior people are there in the hall. I found 3 words in this particular line. One is urban development, other is context, and third one is growing cityscape, a cityscape. So, to just put the mood of the discussion, when I talk about the context, so today morning I'm staying upstairs in the same hotel. When I come out to the balcony, I saw on my left it was a sea. It was a sea face. On the right, I saw multi-storied buildings, and I thought, what is the context? So generally, when you'll trust me that whenever we were designing something, we always have a context. So context of building with respect to water, or there's a water with respect to the building. But last night when I gone for dinner to have a local food, I was just crossing through this Marina beach. And I asked the cab driver, what construction is going on along the beach? Local guys can definitely tell me, ma'am is already smiling on this particular issue. This must be an issue of our urban development, where I see an upcoming metro line along with the beach. It was between the road and the beach. I think I'm right? Okay, so I'm correct. Okay, great. So, when we are talking about the context, now this context is the urban development, this is infrastructure development, and then there is a beach and there is a road. So I think we are not talking about the context in terms of seawater or a building. Rather, I think we should talk about the urbanization and the densification, because development is not going to stop, trust me. None of us can stop development, but yes, the balance is to be kept. Much balance is needed. I think everybody must be remembering this construction of NH 134 in Uttarkashi, when on November 12th, this last year, when 41 laborers got trapped in a tunnel which are under construction. So this is also a development, and whatever we see around the development of railway stations, metro stations, highways and all, Mr. Nikhil is giving a good smile. He's a structural engineer who is a part of those kind of developments. So you can also see that in totality, we have to create a balance, right? You agree with me, all of you, that we have to create a balance? Great, so there's no debate on this. Ma'am, I'll start with you. Your experience of these many 50 years, I guess? Oh, 50 years, great. So experience of 50 years, and you're a city-based architect. This is a workplace. You must be working all around the globe. So how do you think this development, from this development to a developed nation, the journey from this era to Amrit Bharat or whatever we call, how do you think that the best way to take it forward? In your words, as per your experience of 50 years.
Good evening. Is this on? Yeah. So I thank IDAC for having me here. Karishma has almost doggedly been asking me, and I missed Hyderabad, so I'm here. The thing about Chennai is that when I started as a student, being a little sensitized to architecture, that was, I think, in 1972. And Chennai was beautiful. There was nothing beyond the Adyar River, the bridge, and then driving to college, the Anna University, used to be scary because, every time I was late, my parents used to get paranoid about, me traversing on that road, lined with trees, and it was beautiful. Actually, Chennai has grown as a multiple group of villages, multiple group of developments. And it also has a very beautiful system of rivers connected by the Buckingham Canal. And there are umpteen lakes, umpteen water bodies, because we are reliant on being rain-fed. So the waters fall on the ghats, the rain falls on the ghats, and then it comes down and goes to the ocean. And so we have to suck in whatever flows over our land. But unfortunately, what we have all learned as architects and designers is to, first study the land. Even when you're doing a small project, you study the land, you study the hydraulics behind the land, how the water flows, and then what the bearing capacity of the soil is. What are the, intrinsic strengths of the particular site? What are the, faults of the site? What are the challenges? And then you embark on the design of a project. But when it has come to designing a city, I think all this gets thrown away completely. So there is no study of the land, there's no study of the water bodies, there's no study of how the rain is going to fall and how it might flow into the sea, and therefore, which are the vulnerable areas, which are the fragile areas, which can take development, which cannot take development. development just happens. And after development happens, it's a fait accompli. You have to have infrastructure. So the infrastructure just grows. Whether it is anti-gravity or, going in the wrong direction, doing, servicing a very large area, it just goes on and on. So I think, first of all, we should understand that we should spend a lot of time in designing our cities. What has happened in Chennai is so unfortunate. We have just got over these floods. The water table was high, the floods had come in, and then there were overflowing drains, and the sea level has gone up, the land level has come down. So what can happen? It can only flood. So invariably, our city has been called one of the 100 resilient cities for no less a reason than our folly, if I may say so. So how do you remedify this? It's a humongous task, because there are people flocking into the city. There are people, wanting to cut lakes, marshland, whatever is available into plots and sell it for putting up either, housing, mass housing, whatever. And also the government is just keen on connecting places. And the trains now, the CMRL, is just connecting. In the 2010 floods that happened, the second runway of the airport has been built on the Adyar River. How can this be done when there are so many engineers, so many designers designing an airport? All that they have needed to do was to elevate the runway and let space for the water to flow. But this was not done. Why? Is there a lacuna of designers? Is there a lacuna of the will of the government? Is there a lacuna for, whatever, timelines, budgets for design? When you look at budgets for design, they are so minimal when compared to the execution of the project itself. So why is it that design, study, analysis, and learnings are not there? I think this is the bane of any urban center.
I think your point is there should not be any development in isolation.
Absolutely.
The development of the city has to be in holistic, in the large manner, taking care of all the areas together in one go. It's difficult. It's a really difficult task, but still, this is required. This is a must. In the same scenario, when the water table is so high, when densification is required, when connectivity is required, housing becomes a very big challenge in this particular sector, because migrations or people coming from outside nearby cities to the metro city. When it becomes housing becomes a very important aspect, and when housing is important, then I think Mr. Nirmal, Jhon, you can talk about this expansion with respect to the sustainable housing. Why sustainable? Because sustainable in all contexts. In this scenario, especially when you are...
I think sustainability is a very misused word.
Yeah.
So I think...
it's not sustainable in terms of green. I'm not talking about the green sustainability. I'm talking about the sustainability in terms of the development.
Human sustainability.
Yeah.
With sustainability, you can talk about both, yes, as you said, green design, and of course, sustainability as a neighborhood, as a city, as urban areas, yes. So something of this kind of an issue needs sort of a multi-dimensional approach, and it needs to be looked at an environmental standpoint, and maybe maybe at an economic standpoint and a social standpoint as well. And in this, we've got like stakeholders who are as us, people and architects, yes, and we've got the government to play a role, and as communities. And so these stakeholders, each of them have a different responsibility to play. As governments, they'll have to probably incentivize developments in such a way that you don't have movement that happens from one end of the city to the other end of the city. So wherein you could apply something as simple as a mixed-use development, or even just incentivize mixed-use development within existing buildings, so that you don't have the necessity for people to sort of move around from one end of the city to the other end of the city. If you just take back examples from our very core of our own cities, be it within Tamil Nadu or any part of India, we've had areas in the urban urban core where you've had people who worked on the downstairs and used to live just up above those areas. So they would have barely commuted, and their necessities and needs were met maybe within a few streets, maybe going to the grocers or maybe going shopping for clothes. Anything was met within that particular neighborhood. But whereas now we've got situations where you live in one end of the city because you can't afford that housing, and then you have to work in another end of the city because your office demands you to come at 9 in the morning, so you have to rush through, and everybody's working that way. Interestingly, I've been living the city just about 2 years now, and I've worked in Ananagar, and I've had my house in Nungambakam, and I see it be only me who goes on the opposite direction and have a whole horde of people going in the other direction, which means people aren't finding spaces to work within the same environment where they live, and which is something that actually the government could work on to sort of understand what areas or what laws could be sort of tweaked to accommodate such sort of areas to make housing more affordable for everyone. And in the same way as sustainability in extension, I would say as architects and as people who engage architects need to be more socially aware of the kind of building that we do, in the kind of buildings that we design, the principles that we apply for ventilation and heating or whatnot, so that we don't contribute to the climate crisis again, and then making that an issue, adding to the urban stress that we have through other aspects, as ma'am discussed.
But I think I'll put the blame on us. We want to put our children into the best of the schools, wherever they are. We want to work at the place of our choice. We want to go to the restaurant or hotel for dinner of our choice. So we like to commute. I'll say put in a different manner that we like to commute. We prefer commuting in the same scenario will take another 15 minutes a gap that we can really start early. So creating that kind of infrastructure, creating that kind of housing, creating this kind of campuses, I don't think so. That is going to be feasible in the present scenario.
It's a facial development.
Yeah.
And cities abroad have already been doing this because their reliance on private transportation has been emphatically reduced because your infrastructure on public transportation has improved very well. So if at all you really need to commute for your food and for your work and for school, I think there should be the option of using public transportation.
Thank you. Naseera, I'm changing your question.
Don't worry.
In fact, you're from Bangalore, right?
Yes.
So a lot of people are from Bangalore, I guess. In Bangalore, we don't count the distance. We count the time.
And what time?
At what time?
Like, what time are you going? Yes.
So I think this is a city. Can we say that this already collapsed as far as the infrastructure is concerned?
I would say it's reaching there, but the good thing is people are becoming more and more aware because of these incidents that happen, right?
So what exactly city is doing? My question is, what exactly city is doing as per your understanding sitting in Bangalore and working there?
See, the thing is, in terms of being aware and conscious, there's a lot of citizens groups that's being formed and who are trying to voice these concerns, right? And I think that's probably the first step to acknowledge that there is a problem, right? And it shouldn't come from a person experiencing a pain point. It should be something that we're all socially trying to do for the next generation to come as well, right? It shouldn't be so close to home before we think about it. So the good thing is that there are communities who are forming and really voicing this opinion and doing little things about it. I'm not saying that the solution is going to come overnight, but there are steps being taken, which is a good thing to see. But, Bangalore was never meant for the population it has. We all agree to that. It used to be a retirement's land, right? That's what they called it. But unfortunately, ever since the silicon boom happened, things completely changed. There were a lot of opportunities that came out of it for sure. But then because the city wasn't ready and we didn't plan it, or probably we didn't have the choice to plan it the way we could, the brunt of it is what you're facing now. So it's a huge lesson for us to learn as well, for cities like Pune and things that are just coming up, to not repeat what's happening with Bangalore for sure.
But I'm sure you're not going to blame on the weather conditions there.
No,
Because
weather's
of the weather
probably the
people are
only
staying
thing
over
that...
there.
But to be honest, I shifted to Bangalore in 2006. And I remember having a pleasant weather throughout the year. In fact, it used to be like slightly chilly through the year. But ever since, I would say, the past 6-7 years, we actually have a month of peak summer, right? It gets really hot. And that's something totally new for Bangaloreans. And that's like a classic example of what we are doing to the climate there.
Okay, thank you. Amongst all of us, I understand Mr. Mohit Hajela is the most traveled person in the entire hall. Can I treat this as the most traveled person all across the world? Okay, So, as per your analysis, actually he recently told me that he is almost an architect and urban planner. So, because he is interacting with us so much, that and his brother, my senior, is already a gold medalist, an architect, and definitely I treat him as a very knowledgeable person, Mr. Mohit Hajela, in this particular field. I'd like to ask you one thing very straightforward. You are traveling in so many cities within our country. You can just name 2 or maybe 4 cities in ABCD format. You think that these cities are going to survive in this particular situation when urbanization is happening so fast?
I think it's a very good question, but what comes up front is, needless to say, number one city always is Chandigarh. By sheer...
No. Chandigarh is out of this race. It's a greenfield project, just done 85 years back. No, I'm talking about the old cities.
I would say it is Indore, for sure.
Indoor is good.
Indore, Jaipur. Though it is facing turbulence, but still Jaipur. Now it's a tough question. See how tough it is to name a third city.
If I'd have asked a question other way around, that name 4 cities were going to collapse fast, you would have been faster.
Yes. I think, see what a struggle. That he said Chandigarh 85 years back. Jaipur again, it is the Maharaja who planned it, and there's so much of geographical and spatial designing to it that the city still is able to be at the front. And Naseera talked about Pune not to go the Bangalore way. Believe me, please visit the high-tech city at Hinjewadi and see what it has become. It's a concrete jungle already. So I don't think so that the lesson has been learned. And believe me, it's very difficult to name a third city. I'm sorry, but it's very difficult.
So when we are talking about urbanization, we are talking about densification. So it's very critical to analyze the expansion horizontally and expansion vertically. So there's always a dilemma that what should we do? So as ma'am said that this is uncoordinated, discoordinated efforts of the city, maybe the government, which is not basically taking care of the development in such a manner. Mr. Amardeep, I know you are a lighting expert, but at the end of the day, you're an architect. Okay. So in the same context, what is your understanding that this development should be exactly towards vertical or towards horizontal as far as urbanization is concerned, in your understanding?
It's been, I hope you can hear me. It's been years since I have not been working in the field of architecture of urban design. But whatever I understand from design is that irrespective of horizontal or vertical, it has to be planned, growth has to be, there has to be some set of standards to how much of vertical growth can happen, some set of horizontal growth can happen. And everything has to be in a coordinated, planned manner in the sense that the services are put in together, the green spaces are put in together, the water bodies, like what ma'am had mentioned, without disturbing the environment. I think human being is probably the worst race on this planet. We are like a disease on this planet.
Absolutely.
And the way we are growing and we are taking over every other being in this world, it's sad. I feel ashamed to call myself a human being because it's the worst being that can ever be.
No, don't be that get disheartened.
So,
Because end of the day, see, development is something which had to happen. Nobody will say you cannot have development. And we are talking about the developed nation now, from developing country to a developed nation. So I think it is like, what do we understand, or what we envisage, or what we dream actually. So I'm sure you'll be seeing a better future around you.
that's what, I mean, what is better future, that needs to be defined. Because future is so different for different people. So I guess there is a difference between need and greed. So development also is, whether is the need for development or the greed for development, that's something which has to be redefined.
So I think this is a very good question, putting the same question to ma'am. Ma'am, is a greed or a need which you think that what's happening around you?
No. It's need on the part of the people, but it's greed somewhere else. So I think what we need to do is we need to balance this. And we can't stop the exodus of people coming into the city. But at the same time, for example, if you have two rivers, and then you have a little barrier or a buffer for the river to flow over or to soak in the water, then the residual area that is available is for development. So if there are n number of people who need to stay in that place, then the densities of that place get defined accordingly with either high-rise, mid-rise, or low-rise. So what will happen is we will find that for Chennai especially, you will find beautiful lakes, beautiful green spaces, and lesser land occupied by people, which means it has to get denser. So be it. And the infrastructure should be decentralized within those geographical, identities or spaces that have been formed. So it's self-sufficient. It is not, growing from X across the river to beyond the sea into some other place. So each one identifies. It's so much easier. We all know that infrastructure planning is much easier when it is contained, when it is modular. We all talk about modular design and the benefits of it. Why can't we develop a module which can, help the growth and make it self-containing, holistic, answering all the questions that the people would need in that place. So this needs people, people's will, people's discipline, the government will. Government will automatically come if there is people will. So I think today, personally, if I am given a chance, I will try and create this will among the masses to understand what they are losing so that the government understands the priorities right.
You mean
Anupam,
what comes first?
I'm gonna add my 2 bits
Yeah,
to
yeah,
it because
please.
it's a question I personally sometimes ask myself. Is it need or greed? There we are a country that has a lot of aspiration, which we cannot deny, or we shouldn't deny that. But at the same time, when we talk about development, I feel like somebody was saying, it's a very relative term, right? Development doesn't have to be success of a certain percentage of people in the population. We still have so much of disparity between socioeconomic backgrounds of people, right? And while we are talking about building new, I think it's very important to see what we can do with this large chunk of existing portfolio of buildings that we have that are old, that are rotting. Is there a way that we can look at adaptive reuse? That's the exact word for it. Are there things that we can do to make those buildings maybe change into affordable housing? US is already doing it, that whole idea of commercial into resi structure. Is that something we can look at? Because I think it's very important to define development, especially in a country like ours where it shouldn't be, or it shouldn't end up being that a certain percentage of population goes from here to here and the other ones goes down there. So I think, and as designers and as architects, I think it's a very important question we should ask ourselves daily in what is the impact that we can make.
So what comes first, hen or egg?
I think the whole definition of development has to be redefined. Yes. Because the whole aspect of, when you look at the substance abuse foundation in the US, they found out wellness. And wellness is defined not only in terms of financial wellness, intellectual wellness. There's something called a happiness quotient. Nobody measures happiness quotient here. So the whole definition of wellness and development has to be redefined.
I would like to add something to it. I very strongly feel that is it people first, infrastructure later? Or is it infrastructure first and people later? This itself needs to be how the urban planners and urban designers and the policy makers and the citizens, they align their thought. One. Second, we are talking about a nation wherein we are talking about climate crisis, and the way it beckons a nation to redesign its cities to new realities. We have got certain cities, we have certain nations which will perish over a certain time. That's a reality we can't choose to overlook. And most critical is that the impunity with which the designers are being, I'm sorry to say, I would like to use this forum not because I'm biased towards technocrats. In this forum of designers and some very able top designers sitting across, it is the designers who should have the last word when it comes to urban planning and urban design. And most importantly, like it or dislike it, the politicians, the bureaucrats, and the developer nexus will not define the way the city needs to be planned. I think that's a very profound thought I carry.
I've been saying that the mayor of a city should not be a political...
Absolutely, ma'am.
It should be like a CEO who's accountable and who can do things for the city.
Absolutely.
So,
Actually,
but then I'm getting nowhere, so...
No, as Mr. Mohit said, that people or the infrastructure. So definitely, I'm connecting this with the need and the greed also. The need of people has to be the first thing, foremost, most important, and definitely infrastructure has to be planned in the similar manner. I'll just share one experience with this August gathering. While doing railway stations, I realized one thing. I just like to share this, a very important aspect as a redevelopment is concerned. Whenever we are visiting any railway station, the land with the railways are generally from 100 to 1,000 acres within the center of the city, which is most underutilized or unutilized. So when the moment we started discussing the development of railway stations, we were told to develop a station with respect to the train timings, load, passenger only that much originally. But the moment we started interacting with the top level board people and the minister, I am sitting in front of you, we were able to convince them slowly and gradually by understanding the need of the hour that these areas, because the stations are in the center of the city, we should develop these areas to be at the city centers. From the center of the city, it should become a city center. So that is going to house so many developments, including hospitals, including residential apartments, your educational institute, everything you can house because of 1,000 to 1,000 acres, 1,500 acres are there in with the railway stations. So what is happening that the redevelopment which has been getting defined, definitely the urban designer and architect always has a say. I'm very strongly, I'm going to say this, always has a say. The only thing is you should not get, the frightened or not frightened of losing something. You should definitely become very strong, a strong part of the development. Yes, this is not that easy. The way I'm saying, it was a very tough thing to be done. But as ma'am said, the flag has been getting transferred to the younger generation, like Nirmal sitting in besides you. That definitely, slowly and gradually, we are going to take care of that. Any special words from you, the young generation architect? Younger than us, definitely.
It is going to be a hard journey, as how I think equally as how she's also faced it. But how we present it and make it more acceptable to our policymakers is.
Don't you think we have to hit hard on these things?
I'm very optimistic about the youngsters. If you remember in Chennai, we had a silent objection or, vote for the Jallikattu. I don't know how many of you remember it. And it was a tremendous success as far as I was concerned. And it was done so beautifully. So I think if people can get together and say that this is a bane and this is what we want, then I think slowly everything will move forward. But unfortunately, after the floods, when the floods go down, people go back to their work. And then, they say, why do I care? This is not my city. Then it doesn't happen.
And the biggest example is Corona, the COVID, which was there for 2 years over our head. The moment we got to know that it's over, we are back to our job.
Yeah. There were so many learnings in COVID. So many. Even, the zoning, the way we work, everything. So I think we have to take these learnings forward and strategize. So I think as a group of professionals, if we come together, we can achieve a lot. And this collaboration is what is required, brainstorming and presenting it to the government and seeing how it can be done. It will come, it will happen, but it's going to take time.
So to take away from this forum is for the people of, from the professionals of Chennai especially, that's come together, take the experience of learned and experienced people, come together as a youngster with the, the energy, put it together, and things can be that better for this city and the other cities also. I think the time is up and the discussion is getting interesting, very interesting, but it's not good to, we have to end up right away. So thank you very much, all of you. And I think we can take questions, two, three questions from the people. Excuse me, can we? Okay. Any question? Sir. Prashant sir ko diyega.
So the last point which came, I want to share something rather than a question, if you permit me. So coming together of architects and designers, in Mumbai, we had a lot of debates and there are people who were very passionate. So for example, Nitin Killawala, then Alan Abraham, Ratan Batley Boy, Rahul Kadri. And then one fine day we realized that we are all talking, ye karna chahiye, wo karna chahiye. How do we proceed? So we formed a group with about 6 or 7 people, a WhatsApp group called, now it's called Mumbai Architects Collective. And now we have everybody who is who of Mumbai, 150 architects on it. Very vibrant, everyday messages, important discussions. And I want to give you one example how powerful we are. And the onus is on us, I feel, rather than waiting for somebody to lead us. So when the Mumbai new budget was to come, Mumbai Municipal Corporation, they asked for public opinion. We wrote to the commissioner that the most important thing in Mumbai required is footpath. And you will be surprised, in 50,000 plus crore rupees of Mumbai budget, annual budget, there is not a single rupee allocated to the footpath. Not a single rupee. So we said we want 1800 crore rupees for footpath. They did not give 1800 crores, but we got 300 crores. And it's the first in the history of Mumbai. Aaj tak nahi mila tha. So I think I just wanted to share this because as you see now, the whole system is everybody wants to just count number of kilometers. कि हमने इतना रोड बनाया, हमने इतना रेलवे लाइन बनाया, हमने इतना square feet काम किया. It's the measurement of square feet, kilometers, but what about the quality? The, contextual development in terms of human, what we require. And that's what we are all, feeling the pain of it. And we don't want India to be, like when we look back after 25 years, hey, we had this opportunity and we created a mess. We developed, but it is not a sustainable contextual development which is good for human habitation. And I think we all architects need to be collective together with all other fellow professionals. It's only architects' domain. It's everybody has to be together. We can be a pressure group. And we saw a number of times, even Chief Minister took note of what we were saying. And there were certain things where we could change the course of things to a certain extent. Because they say, hey, 100 architects are signing. And who is who of Mumbai signing from designer fraternity? So I think that's where the way forward is. If we will sit just waiting for business to come to us, we will have to be an activist. We'll have to invest time into it. Then things can happen.
I think it's a super initiative, Prashantji. And I'd like to just add something to it, that India stands blessed with a very strong monumental legacy. This city itself. I think it's important that we talk about traditions, we talk about heritage, we talk about pedigree, we talk about provenance. I think it is important that whatever monumental legacy each city has, that gets conserved beautifully. And something like a Mumbai Architects Collective, I think that's a great initiative because that's the way you are able to collectively put pressure back to the bureaucracy.
And we know the topic, we know the subject very well. We are the people who actually know what is to be done as an architect, as an urban planner. So I'm sure these things can be started in Chennai, Bangalore, and other places, and definitely is going to work well. Any other question? Yeah.
Hi. Yes, it was great insights. Thank you for talking about it. I have one question. I always wondered, Chennai is definitely going to grow, so is metros. But can we slow down the growth of development by focusing more on suburbans or few tier 3, tier 4 infrastructure where the politician, the industry mafia that is not focusing on it because it's not valuable yet. But then that gives a window for designers to design those places and keep it ready. So infrastructure first approach in tier 3, tier 4, so that when people realize that, I have better quality of living in tier 3, which is just 1 hour from Chennai, I would prefer that. Is that a direction? Is there any
this is a volume button you can slow.
The only problem is when, there is a ribbon development which happens from the city into the tier 1. That's what happens. Because you're not able to draw a finite border and say that this is it. Now, everybody is touting for a NCR, I mean like NCR Delhi, they want to make Chennai region. They want to annex. I don't think the idea should be to annex. The idea should be to detach.
Yeah.
And keep Chennai as a core city. With
And I would
all
like
its
to add
glory.
there, I think it's about an issue of reverse migration. See what happens, but reverse migration needs to be made productive. Why is it that a hub and spoke model survives? Because eventually, though it needs to be done now is the time that Delhi needs to look beyond, as you so rightly said. But people come because of the economic necessity to the hub. So if you decentralize a city and create more avenues in the suburbs, what is the need to migrate? I think that's the question.
It is so strange. I would like to just share this. I heard the minister talking very proudly about the Delhi-Jaipur highway and how it was developing and how beautiful it is, etc. So I just asked him, but by connecting it this way, how are you restricting the growth along the highway? But, I was shooed down not to ask that question.
I'm sorry, I'll take this minute because this is something I'm very sensitive about. You drive down from Delhi to Chandigarh. I'm sure most of my friends and colleagues here, and I think anybody who's 40 plus will agree with me, that it used to be a treat to drive from Delhi to Chandigarh on the GT Canal Highway, lush green farms on both the sides. And my friend, you'll be surprised that today it's absolutely agreeing to what Sheila ma'am said. I think it's absolute a concrete jungle on both the sides of the highway.
And it is
They finished it.
That is greed. That is greed.
It is hardly a kilometer deep. Beyond that, you again have greens. So how can any infrastructure be efficient like this when it has to grow linear? It's something.
Yeah, I think, ma'am, you had hit a very valid point somewhere in between while you were saying that the idea of modularity in cities becomes very important.
Very important.
And I don't agree with you when you said we like commuting from one place or we want to go to that school. I think the idea of, there is a concept of the 20-minute cities that they're coming up with, where the idea is that you have access to everything within a certain radius. So you don't have to travel, spend that time, spend that fuel and all of that. So
That
I
is
think
ideal
that's,
conditions.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a way to look forward to as well.
So any other question?
Let me
or-
add to that
Yeah, please.
statement of
Please,
his.
please go ahead.
So one of it was, yes, decentralization, but not necessarily within the suburbs, but also helping other tier 2 cities to also come up with more development, like within Tamil Nadu or within any part of the, the state, where you could have tier 2, tier 3 cities to develop more opportunities for, sort of mitigating this migration. And at the same time, if you are thinking of slowing down development, it could also be looking at missed opportunity areas like abandoned properties or properties that are underutilized and brownfield sites, which could also take up new development. So a mix of this could also have a sort of impact in creating a better environment if possible.
Great. Any other question, or we can, yeah.
Just not a
Sir.
question, but I've been privileged of meeting a lot of senior designers, ma'am, Brinda ma'am, Hafiz sir, everyone. It's a request to all the young urban planners. As even Prashant sir mentioned, the power of what you guys can do. Again, that group comprises only of the people who are senior, which is Ratan sir. I'm sure Ratan sir and Salil sir, they are a part of that. I don't see any young generation in that. Because what is happening, okay, when I'm young, but the younger people who are going to be living there are right now in the race to get their name up there and making the presence felt for their own firms. But what's going to happen when we realize after 15, 20 years what the hell has happened because we were absent in this movement and then blame our seniors that, you guys didn't do anything for us. A very beautiful statement was said by Hafiz sir when I met him last, that, it's the borrowed time that we are living on. This planet does not belong to us. It is borrowed from our future generation. And we as young generation now are supposed to be, as ma'am mentioned about the movement, I feel we guys who are young, the planners, the architects, I honestly see them missing in action. They are there working hard, but towards their individual goals. I would appreciate and respect and urge, please stand up, because eventually we are going to be living in that city, which you guys are going to be now planning. So you can take their mentorship, their help and guidance, and I feel we voice it out because we know what we want. I'm sure, because with the time we have left, we know what we want to make and build. So I request all the guys who are 30, 35, in that 30 to 40 bracket, please stand up and voice out how you want your city to be, rather than waiting for the mentors to kind of, stand up. That's a request, that's it.
I think like how you have a CSR for every company, if every architect who's, striving to make his name and, earn some money and, come up in his career, could allocate some percentage of his time for this as a commitment, then I think like our CSR, whatever, ASR, whatever you call it, design responsibility as a fraternity, I think it would be great.
I think the combination of experience and the youthfulness, the energy, if comes together, then definitely this can happen. So with these words, it's like this is an unending topic. Maybe in next intelligence series we can continue with the same topic in other cities as well. So thank you very much, all the panelists. It was a wonderful interacting with all of you and the wonderful audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anupam, Mital, and the entire panelists for such an insightful discussion. And thank you so much for leaving us for some food for thought as well. May I request you to kindly come a bit more closer and let's do a quick photo op. In the meanwhile, may I please request Shripal Munshi from SVA and Sunil Philip from PSP Design to kindly join us on stage to felicitate our wonderful moderator and the panelists that we have here. A very good day, dignitaries. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a round of applause for Mr. Anupam Mital, our wonderful moderator, who churned the entire panel discussion, made it so interesting, exciting, and probing all the right questions to our wonderful panelists that we have back here. Ladies and gentlemen, what you see on stage is a beautiful amalgamation. We have brands here, we have designers and architects back here, and then we have consultants back here as well. So it's a wonderful mix that you see of ideas and knowledge that was basically shared on this panel discussion. And once again, requesting everyone that we have here, the future of the country literally lies in your hands. When it comes to urban planning, when it comes to developing buildings and architectures, please go forward, make sure that your voice is heard. And like Mr. Dhaval said, the city that you want to live in, be a voice of that city, of how you encapsulate to see the future and how would you expect the future generations to actually live in as well. If you guys need any mentorship whatsoever, we have our mentors back here. Feel free to approach them during the networking time and see how you can actually take this idea ahead with them.